Hi, welcome back, and today we're on to season 21 of Classic Doctor Who from 1984. So this is the final season with the 5th Doctor and the first season with the 6th Doctor. So we do have a regeneration episode and a first episode for a new Doctor in this season. I'm trying not to talk too much and keeping things shorter than they have been previously, so I'm just going to get straight into it with the first episode, Warriors of the Deep. So this episode got a 4 overall, and I did think it was okay, a good okay. It only just scraped to 4 though, so it was a bit of a mixture. I liked the concept of the Silurians and Sea Devils teaming up against the humans. Wasn't so keen on the execution, but I liked that they tried it. My main issue that kept going through it was the fact that the sets looked really sterile. They were really bright white. It didn't really feel like we were in scenes in different places in this space. It felt like we were always in the same room because the sets were so samey. That would be my biggest issue with it, just because that ran throughout the whole serial. Though I do have to say that watching this on a small mini iPad screen does mean that the Merca doesn't look quite so bad. So, I mean, it's cute at least. A weird cute. I also like the fact that this episode was actually a sequel to the 3rd Doctor Silurian episode, because one of the Silurians was actually the same character from that episode. So I did quite like that and the continuity there throughout the Doctor's timeline. Turlough was better in this serial. I've got to hand it to him. I did say in my ranking for companions that as much as I do hate Turlough, he does get better. Whereas Adric did not improve as a character, there was no development there, he just stayed annoying the whole time. Turlough at least improved, and you see that throughout this season as well, so he's not as bad as Adric for me. Speaking of Turlough and Tegan as well, I do love the fact that at the end of the serial, both of them were trying to help the Silurians and Sea Devils, providing them with as much oxygen as they could, trying to help them. They didn't want anyone to die, so I do like that. Though it is a very bleak ending, the fact that everybody did die. Literally everyone except the Doctor, Tegan and Turlough died at the end, so very bleak. The look of the Silurians I was a bit iffy about. I don't like the red light on their heads. They're big lizards, not robots. Why have they got light up heads? And one of the Silurians was called Skibbous, and I wanted to give him the MVP just for that name alone. I don't know what it is, but I loved that name. I wanted to give him MVP for that alone, but I didn't. There is someone else as MVP. But where am I placing this? I think because the concept itself was good, even though the execution was left wanting, I'm going to put this into upgrade in progress. I'm going to be really nice and put it in upgrade in progress, because I do think that it was a decent concept. It was just the execution that didn't quite pay off the concept. And the MVP for the serial is Karina. Next up is The Awakening. So this one got a 4 again, but it's a clearer 4 than the last serial. I did enjoy this one a lot more. I feel like everyone being completely balmy at the start and the audience not really understanding if they're under hypnosis or if they're just genuinely nuts was quite a nice start to the episode. And then you have the very sudden link to 1643, which threw me for a loop. I get that the villagers were doing this reenactment, but I don't get the link to 1643 and how it literally linked up. That threw me a little bit. The Malice, the villain, is so big. It did look well crafted, but from the look of it, I don't know if it's supposed to be made of stone or if it's supposed to be a genuine face of a creature. I would like to have seen this one tackled in New Who, just purely so I know what the Malice is supposed to be, because I just couldn't figure out if it's supposed to be made of stone or if it was an actual flesh and bone creature, you know? But overall, this was an enjoyable serial. I liked the fact that it really had that feel of a historical, even though it was set in what was then the current day. And I think I'm going to put this one, I think I'm going to put it into Fantastic. I'm going to be generous and put this one into Fantastic. Because with Doctor Who now, we don't get many historicals. The last pure historical was Black Orchid, and the last pure historical before that was in the 60s, I think. So we don't really get many historicals in Doctor Who anymore by this point. And this one, while it's not a historical, it has that feel of a historical. So I'm going to put it into Fantastic. It was enjoyable, the mystery was good, and I liked watching it. And the MVP is Jane Hampton. The next episode is Frontios. Okay, I'm going to level with you. This is one of those ones that I do not remember. When it came back to this on my rewatch, I couldn't recall anything about it from the first time round. And after a second watch, I still don't remember anything. I gave it a 2 overall. but it only just scraped a 2. When I was watching it, clearly I found it quite dull. I mean, on my notes it says I found it very dull, so I guess I did. And I have still no clue what happened. While I have this feeling that it should be in Doctor Who because I don't recall it, I also know that I gave it 2 2s and 2 1s. So I think I'm going to be harsh now. I've been generous on the last one, I'm going to be harsh on this one, and I'm going to put it into Skaro Sewers. Because I do feel like I'm not using the bottom 2 categories enough. I feel like I'm being too kind on all of Classic Who because I've adjusted my scores for the classic setting. So I feel like I'm going to put this on to Skaro Sewers. For the other ones that I can't really remember, they still get a 3 at least, really. This one only just scraped a 2. As much as I'm sure it's a decent episode for other people, for me it's in Skaro Sewers. I'm sorry. And MVP is Chief Science Officer Range. Next up is Resurrection of the Daleks. So this episode saw the departure of one of my favourite companions, Tegan, and I do think her departure was done quite well, especially with the fact that she literally says to the Doctor, I was told if you don't enjoy something anymore, just stop doing it. And she's realised after this adventure it's just not enjoyable for her anymore. So I completely understand why she would give up travelling with the Doctor if it just wasn't enjoyable for her anymore. So I do think her departure was done quite well. It was on her terms. It still had that emotional weight to it because she had been there since the Doctor transformed into the 5th Doctor. So it did have emotion to it, but it was on her terms and I did quite like that. I should probably mention this serial got a 5. I did quite enjoy this on my rewatch. This is why I wanted to rewatch everything before I did official ratings for these scarf that I'm making and obviously these tier lists, because from my memory I thought this was a middle of the road Dalek episode because I'm just not as obsessed with Daleks as everyone else apparently. But when I rewatched this one I really did enjoy it. I thought it was done really well. Again, Tegan's departure in it did have that emotional weight while still feeling completely valid for her reason for departing and everything. So there's a lot in this that I thought was really good, and it did get a 5. However, Tegan and Turlough were barely in the serial. I think they were in the second half a normal amount, but the first half, the first whole episode, which was a 45-minute episode, these were 2 45-minute episodes, not 4 25-minute ones. So the first half of the serial, they were barely there. They were not needed. They were only in the second episode, so it was a bit bizarre. But yeah, the episode was a good episode regardless. Although my main criticism of this episode is that they did flashbacks to the Doctor's past throughout, going back through all of his past faces and companions. And they included everyone that they could, including companions like K9, you know? They included the Tin Dog. They did not include Leela. That feels like a slight that I cannot let go unnoticed and unacknowledged, okay? They included everyone except Leela, and I will not accept that. That is slander. Unforgivable. However, this episode, I think I might, again, be generous and put it into Uyu. Whilst it wasn't a perfect episode for me, I do think it's got the Doctor, it's got Daleks, it's got Davros, it's got a companion departure, and one of my favourite companions at that. And the departure was done really well, in my opinion. So I think altogether it does fit into the Uyu category for me. So yeah, Uyu. And the MVP for the serial is Raymond Arthur Stein. Next up is Planet of Fire. So this serial saw the departure of Turlough as a companion and the introduction of the new companion Peri, Miss Barbara Gilliam Brown. I'll never tire of hearing the Master call her her full name. Speaking of, I gave this one a 3. It was a basic episode of Doctor Who. It had all the Doctor Who features, that's fine. I didn't enjoy it as much as I have other episodes. The main thing I liked in this serial was the scenes with Peri and the Master and Chameleon. I thought those were really fun, interesting scenes, especially with like Peri versus the teeny tiny little Master. That was really cute and funny. But other than that, the actual story of the episode, I wasn't so bothered about. So yeah, I don't rate it highly, to be honest. Poor Peri though, she just had absolutely no idea what was going on and just wanted to try and survive. And Chameleon, for all his faults in the real world, in universe, bless him, he did try and help her out, okay? He tried. He may have been overtaken by the Master several times in the serial, but he tried to help Peri out, so give him credit where it's due. But as for the serial, I think I'm going to put this into Wibbly Wobbly. Nothing much more to say on it. I think it was okay, not the best. Yeah. And the MVP is Amiand. I may be pronouncing that wrong. Next up is the Caves of Androzani. So this is the 5th Doctor's final adventure, and this is, I think, a fan favourite. I remember first time round not enjoying this episode, Okay, I'll be honest, I did not enjoy this the first time around. On a rewatch, I gave it a 4. So it is good. It was nearly a 5, to be honest. It was 0.2 away from being a 5, but I just couldn't push it that much because I just didn't enjoy every aspect of it. In general, it was better than I thought it was the first time around, so I'll give it that. On a rewatch, I did enjoy it more. And 2 of the episodes in the serial did get 5s, so it is one that I would say is really good. All of my notes are kind of character-based, so I don't know if any of this is going to be interesting to anybody. Don't know if any of these lists are ever interesting to anybody. First things first, this is Five's only adventure with Perry solo, right? From then on, Perry's with the Sixth Doctor, and everyone claims that Six is horrible and rude and awful to Perry. And you know what? For the most part, that is true. However, so was Five. Okay, so is Five. In this serial, he's really rude to her with regards to telling her that sarcasm isn't her strong suit and telling her as well to speak English. English is her native language. She may be American, but English is still the native language for the United States of America. The Doctor comes from Gallifrey. His native language is Gallifreyan. He has no right telling anyone to speak English, okay? Let's get that right. And it is a trait with the Doctor before, because the first Doctor used to say that to Dodo. The first Doctor was always telling her to speak English, and it's like, dude, you're not even English yourself. Shut up. But yeah, so basically the Fifth Doctor's rude to Perry. Also, there's the scene in, I think it's in part 1, but the Doctor and Perry realise they have like an hour to live or something, and Perry is in a state of shock and upset that she's about to die. From my notes, it says they're about to be executed soon, so I think this is before they're both poisoned. And the Doctor takes way too long to understand her feelings on that. The Doctor's been shown to have empathy before. Apparently that's what sets him apart from the Master, is that the Master has no empathy, the Doctor does have empathy, which is why the Master and the Doctor are not the same. They have roughly the same intelligence level, and they are capable of the same atrocities if they both wanted to do them. The Doctor doesn't because he has empathy. That is his trait that differs from the Master, and to be fair, a lot of other Time Lords. But he just doesn't seem to care that Perry is so scared and depressed about the fact that she's about to be executed. This woman did not choose to be in the TARDIS the first time around. Yes, at the end of Planet Fire, she did say, I have 3 months of holiday, can I come with? But she didn't choose to be executed on her first fucking adventure. Come on, Doc. I do think that was the best part of part 1, though, was Perry's scene of her being really upset and trying to come to terms with the fact that she's about to be executed. I think that was written really well, especially for what was a children's programme at the time. Speaking of Perry, though, I feel so bad for her. I mean, she's just living out the Phantom of the Opera in this one, isn't she? So Perry's Christine, Shara's Jack is the Phantom, the Doctor is, for all intents and purposes, Raoul. Yeah, this is creepy. Real creepy. And this is going to be an ongoing thing for poor Perry, I tell ya. And Perry's scenes in part 3 with Jack is just the music of the night from Phantom, I tell ya. If Jack kind of just put on some banging opera or something, she'd have been like, yep, bagged. Let's go, Jack. Take me now. I'm joking, obviously. I think. But yeah, Jack is a major creep. I think my issue the first time around with this one is that I can't unsee the GIMP mask. I can't unsee it. Once you see a GIMP, it's not, I can't take him seriously. I just can't do it. I think that's what my issue was the first time around. The second time around, I obviously knew that was coming, so I was prepared for that. But I wasn't prepared for the Phantom of the Opera vibes. I didn't see it the first time around. Clearly I did the second time. Phantom of Opera is now inside my mind. I do have to hand it to the Doctor though. When Jack did get too close and creepy to Perry, the Doctor did keep sliding between them and sort of pushing Perry behind him a little bit. He was being more protective by this point in the serial, so I do have to hand it to him on that one. One thing that was really jarring was the villain, the capitalist villain, not Jack villain. He went really Shakespearean and twice in the same scene turned to the camera and did a little Shakespearean soliloquy. It was really jarring. I haven't seen that in any other Doctor Who episode, before or since, and it was twice in the same scene. It was so weird and jarring, and that took me right out of it, because I was like, what the hell is going on here? I mean, seriously, this serial has execution, poison, Phantom of the Opera, Shakespeare, caves. What more could you want? Anyway, overall, I think it was a much better serial on the second watch than I gave it credit for the first time around. I did enjoy it more as it went on, and I do think it's a really good serial, even though it's really sad to see one of my favourite Doctors go. I also liked the constant threat of the Doctor and Perry both slowly dying from the poison. I think that in the serial really laid into the intensity of the scenes, so that worked really well. All round make it a good serial. So I think I'm going to put this one... Okay, right, so here's the thing. It's not a perfect serial for me. It's not, okay? I don't think it's a perfect serial. However, as far as regeneration stories go, this one was quite intense, and I do think it was really good. So for that reason, I think I'm going to put it into Uiu. Is there the Phantom of the Opera? I'm not doing the high pitch. Fuck that. It's in Uiu. I came into this tier list expecting I was going to put it in Fantastic. And to be honest, if it wasn't a regeneration story, I probably would have put it into Fantastic. But as far as regeneration stories go, the Doctor sacrificing himself for someone else will always have me. Unless it's a fucking baby that doesn't exist in the first place. But yeah, so I think this deserves to be an Uiu for that reason alone, because it was a good serial overall. It may not have been perfect in my eyes, but as a regeneration story, I think it was really good. And the MVP is Timon. You go, girl. And finally, we come to the Twin Dilemma. So this is the Sixth Doctor's first story, and it sucks. I'm sorry. It got a 2, and I didn't enjoy it. Okay, I'm sorry. I think this is widely agreed to not be a good serial, and it sucks that this is the first story for the Sixth Doctor, because it sucks. The usual thing for Doctors regenerating in Who is that they regenerate at the end of the season or in a Christmas special nowadays as well, which I kind of hate because you know that nothing's going to affect them up to that point. But in Classic Who, twice the Doctor has regenerated before that. The first Doctor regenerated in his second serial of season 4, and now the fifth Doctor's regenerated in the sixth serial of season 21. And I would love to see more of that in New Who. I don't want a season to be just one Doctor and then the Christmas special is when they regenerate. That's kind of boring to me. I want to not know when they're going to regenerate. Fair enough if we know that so-and-so's leaving, but we don't know when. When David Tennant left and there was that cliffhanger at the end of The Stolen Earth with the regeneration, that was a mind-blowing moment for young me, because I was like, I didn't know he was going yet! And it was insane. Yes, it was a complete fake out, but the point remains, it was great. And I wouldn't have had that any other way, let's just be clear. I'm glad that he stayed, because The End of Time is my favourite Christmas special. It's got the Master, obviously, it's my favourite. So I do appreciate that this season had the Doctor regenerating before the end. However, I hate the fact that this was the Sixth Doctor's first episode. It's awful. Straight away, the twins actually suck. The Sixth Doctor is way too narcissistic, which is kind of funny at first, but it just continues on for too long. I know that the Doctors can be a bit iffy when they regenerate, but this went on for a bit too long and it was very much iffy. I mean, obviously there's the infamous strangling Perry part of it, which I don't hate as much as everybody else, because whilst I don't think it was necessary, let's be clear, I don't think it was necessary for that little bit to be added. I understand why it happened in the scene, and the Doctor was completely off his mind at the time, so I do understand that. But that's the thing, part 1 with the Doctor's regeneration going wrong was the only interesting bits for me. Everything else in this serial was boring as hell. I didn't like it. I will say that it's not quite as bad as I remembered it being, but it's still not good. A couple of points on the bad guys. First up, the owl creatures. Can't remember what they're called, but the owl creatures. They look like the Menoptera had a baby with an owl, and that was the offspring, the hybrid offspring of the Menoptera and an owl. It's interesting, it's a look. But then you've got the slug creatures, and if they are slugs, why didn't the Doctor just grab a load of salt from the TARDIS and throw it on them? I feel like the serial would have been done pretty quickly if that was the case. Just saying. But overall, I think, well, this is going to be harsh. For the same reason that I put the Caves of Androzani into Uiu, because it was a regeneration episode, I think I've got to put the Twin Dilemma into Skaro Sewers, because it was the first episode of the Doctor and he was not given anything good to work with there. So yeah, I'm going to have to put the Twin Dilemma in Skaro Sewers. I'm sorry. I just think the Sixth Doctor deserved better as his first episode, because a Doctor's first episode sets a precedent for who they are and what their Doctor is going to be like throughout their run. If people don't like the Doctor on that first episode, it kind of taints their whole run, because people either may not watch more, or they will, but they'll always have that image in mind. And yeah, it makes it really iffy. So as sorry as I am to everyone behind this episode, it's in the Skaro Sewers. I'm sorry. The MVP for the serial is Hugo Lang. But that is it. That is season 21 tier listed, and it's a season of Who. Season stats now. The most common score for the season, believe it or not, was a 4, and the season average was a 3.17. So overall, it wasn't actually a bad season of Who, and obviously I could have put Frontios in Doctor Who rather than in Skara Sewers, but from my ratings, I just didn't enjoy it, so I had to put in Skara Sewers. And the Sixth Doctor deserved better than the Twin Dilemma as his first episode, so again, Skara Sewers. The rest of the season, though, pretty good. There are still 2 in UEU, so it clearly isn't that bad of a season. I just think it was a bit rocky. The quote of the season, believe it or not, comes from the Twin Dilemma. It's a conversation between the Doctor and Peri after the Doctor has been awful to her all day. The Doctor says, "You know, I never understand the people of Earth. I have spent the day using, abusing, even trying to kill you. If you'd have behaved as I have, I should have been pleased at your demise." And Peri responds, "It's called compassion, Doctor. It's the difference that remains between us." I like that quote because there are a lot of people in the world, in the universe, I suppose, who are awful for the sake of being horrible people. But then there are good people and people who try to be good and have compassion. And that's something that in the world, it's really hard to keep remembering because everything in the news is awful all the time. And this is why I come to series like Doctor Who, to escape from all of that, even though a lot of Doctor Who is just premonitions of the future, really. But as long as we remember that there are a lot of people in the world with that compassion, with that kindness, with that generosity, and hope that they are the ones who will be leading us in the future, then we'll be okay. But that's the tier list for season 21 complete. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think I should have put the case of Androzani immediately into UEU rather than hesitating? Do you think that the Twin Dilemma deserves to be in Skara Sewers? Is Frontios your favourite serial in all of Doctor Who and I have blasphemed by putting it in Skara Sewers? Tell me your thoughts in the comments and I will see you next time for season 22.